Every single day, approximately 150,000 people die on this planet. That's not the shocking part. The shocking part is how little we actually understand about what happens in the moments before, during, and after that threshold is crossed. Welcome back to MindAtlas, where we don't look away from the things that make your skin crawl and your mind race at 3 in the morning. Today we're diving into something that researchers, neuroscientists, and philosophers have been quietly arguing about for decades, something that the mainstream conversation tends to sanitize or ignore entirely. We're talking about the hidden science of human consciousness, death, and the strange documented phenomena that happen at the very edge of existence. Buckle up, because some of what you're about to hear cannot be unheard. Let's start with something that sounds like it belongs in a horror film, but is actually documented medical reality. When a person dies, the brain doesn't simply switch off like a light. In 2023, researchers studying patients who were dying from cardiac arrest captured something extraordinary on EEG monitors. In the final moments, the brain surged with activity. Gamma wave oscillations, the same type of brain waves associated with heightened consciousness, dreaming, and even moments of deep insight, spiked dramatically. The brain, in its final seconds, appeared to be doing something intensely active, something we still cannot fully explain. What is it processing? What is it experiencing? Nobody knows. And that uncertainty should sit with you for a moment. Now here's where it gets darker. There's a phenomenon that scientists call the dying surge, sometimes referred to in clinical literature as terminal lucidity. People who have been completely unresponsive for months, individuals with severe dementia, Alzheimer's patients who haven't recognized their own families in years, will sometimes, in the days or hours before death, suddenly wake up. They become fully coherent. They hold conversations. They say goodbye by name to people they seemingly forgot existed. And then, within hours, they're gone. This has been documented in peer-reviewed journals and observed by nurses and doctors worldwide. Nobody has a satisfying biological explanation for why a deteriorating brain, one that should be incapable of that level of function, suddenly rallies with such clarity. It's one of the most quietly unsettling mysteries in modern medicine, and most people have never heard of it. But let's pull back even further, because the strangeness doesn't begin at death. It begins in the mind itself right now, while you're alive and watching this video. Consider this. Your brain is constantly constructing a reality for you. Not recording it, constructing it. Everything you see, hear, touch, and believe is a model, a simulation generated by roughly 86 billion neurons firing in patterns shaped by evolution, trauma, desire, and memory. The world you experience is not the world as it is. It is the world as your brain predicts it will be. This is called the predictive processing model of consciousness, and its implications are staggering. It means that perception is fundamentally an act of controlled hallucination. Every waking moment, including this one. And if that doesn't rattle you, consider what happens when that prediction engine misfires. There is a condition called Cotard's delusion, sometimes called walking corpse syndrome, in which a person becomes absolutely convinced that they are dead. Not metaphorically, literally. They will look at their living body and believe with total certainty that they are a corpse. They stop eating because they believe they don't need food. Some report feeling no pain. Some believe their organs have rotted away. And yet they continue to walk around, to speak, to interact with a world they're certain they no longer belong to. Brain scans of patients with this condition show activity patterns eerily similar to those found in people who are under general anesthesia. The brain, in some fundamental sense, has partially shut itself off while the body keeps going. The line between being alive and being dead, it turns out, is far less clear than any of us are comfortable admitting. Here's another fact that tends to get buried. Approximately 1 in 10 people who are resuscitated after cardiac arrest report a near-death experience. That's tens of millions of people worldwide describing encounters that follow a remarkably consistent pattern across cultures, across religions, across continents. The tunnel of light. The sensation of floating above their own body and watching medical staff work on them from the ceiling. The overwhelming feeling of peace and understanding. The life review, in which every moment of their existence appears to play out simultaneously. The AWARE study, conducted by Dr. Sam Parnia and his team at Southampton University, documented cases where resuscitated patients accurately described specific details from the room during their cardiac arrest, details they could not have seen from a lying position, details that were later verified by the medical staff. The materialist explanation struggles here. The mystery deepens. Now let's talk about something even more unsettling, something that lives not at the edge of life and death, but right in the middle of ordinary existence. Sleep. Every night, you willingly lose consciousness. Your rational mind goes offline. And for a portion of that time, your brain generates an entirely alternate reality, complete with people, places, emotion, and narrative that you experience as completely real. You have no awareness that it's constructed. You feel genuine fear, genuine joy, genuine love inside a world that is entirely fabricated by the organs sitting inside your skull. And when you wake up, the logic of that world dissolves so rapidly that within minutes, most of it is gone forever. But there's a shadow territory between sleep and waking called sleep paralysis that reveals just how thin the membrane really is. During sleep paralysis, a person regains consciousness before the body does. You are awake. You can see your room, but you cannot move a single muscle. And in that terrifying stillness, a significant percentage of sufferers report the presence of something in the room. A figure. A shadow, something sitting on their chest, something watching them from the corner. These hallucinations are so consistent, so cross-cultural, so historically documented that they appear in folklore from ancient Rome, from Japanese legend, from medieval European art, from indigenous storytelling across 6 continents. The old hag, the nightmare, the incubus. Humans have been seeing the same shadow figure in the same paralyzed state for thousands of years. And the explanation is still just barely satisfying. Something about REM atonia and hypnagogic hallucination. But that clinical label doesn't explain why the figure is always watching, always threatening, always the same. There is one final piece of this dark puzzle that we need to address, and it concerns time. Human consciousness, as it turns out, does not experience time in any consistent or reliable way. In moments of extreme danger, time slows down. Survivors of car accidents and falls from heights consistently describe the experience in slow motion, every millisecond stretching into something that felt like much longer. Neuroscientists believe this is because the amygdala, during a crisis, floods the brain with additional processing power, effectively recording more data per second, which the mind later interprets as time having slowed. But here's the dark implication of that. If subjective experience of time is determined entirely by the rate of neural processing, and if the brain surges with activity in the moments of death as those 2023 studies suggest, then the dying mind might experience its final seconds as something vastly longer than any clock would measure. The last moment could be, subjectively, an eternity. That thought has no clean ending, and it probably shouldn't. We are biological machines convinced we are something more. We are hallucinating a reality we call home. We generate entire worlds in our sleep and forget them by breakfast. We approach the edge of non-existence, and our brains throw a final, frantic, mysterious party that nobody on the outside can witness or understand. The mind is not a window. It is a cathedral built in the dark, full of rooms we haven't opened yet. That's what MindAtlas is here for. To walk into those rooms, to shine a light into the corners where most conversations never go. If this kind of deep, dark, mind-bending exploration is what you're after, then you already know what to do. Hit subscribe right now. Turn on notifications, because we go to these places regularly, and you don't want to be left outside when the next door opens. Leave a comment below telling us which fact hit you hardest tonight. We read every single one, and we'll see you in the dark.